Hi everyone, this is a toy crocodile, and today we're going to make a giant version of it out of chocolate, weighing a whopping 160 kilograms. And for that, we're going to need a ton of chocolate drops. This is just half, but first we're going to need 3 gastronorm containers, and we're going to fill them with chocolate. Now we need to melt it, and for that we're going to use a Marmite, a huge steam bath. But to get it working, we've got to pour in an entire pot of water. We're going to set up the remaining containers and then turn on the heat. Now the water is going to start to evaporate, and to keep the studio from turning into a sauna, we're going to slide the containers together and cover the gap with the lid. And then to help the chocolate melt faster, we're going to stir it now and then with a spatula. All done. The chocolate is melted into a liquid consistency, and now we need to temper it. Let me explain why using 2 chocolate bars. Untempered chocolate looks dull, it breaks easily without a snap, and it melts quickly in your hands. While tempered chocolate is shiny and firm and important for making sculptures, it snaps properly and takes much longer to melt. So we're going to temper the chocolate on a granite slab, and all we do is pour the entire contents of the containers right onto it. Using spatulas, we're going to spread the chocolate across the granite in a thinner layer to help it cool faster. Then we're going to gather it back into one spot and spread it out again. This kind of controlled cooling kickstarts the formation of stable cocoa butter crystals in the chocolate, which gives it that glossy finish, satisfying snap, and durability. Once the chocolate cools down to 27 degrees, we use 2 spatulas to quickly scoop it off the granite and return it to the containers. Then we're going to place the chocolate back into the Marmite, and while constantly stirring, gently reheat it to 30 degrees. Now the chocolate is fully ready to work with. We're going to start making the crocodile from the body. Now for that, we need large egg-shaped molds and one of the best chocolatiers in the country, because there's a lot of work ahead. To make sure the chocolate releases easily from the mold, we're going to use alcohol. We're going to pour a little inside and spread it thoroughly across the entire surface. That's how we're going to prep both molds. And now they're going to go into the freezer to chill properly in advance. Now to make pouring easier, we're going to first transfer the chocolate into another container. And from there, we're going to pour right into the center carefully without touching the sides of the mold. We're going to need 2 portions. Then we're going to close the freezer and wait 30 minutes. Time to check. Everything looks great. A 1 centimeter thick layer of chocolate has solidified along the walls of the mold. Now we're going to pour all the remaining liquid chocolate into the second half. And wait another half hour. During that time, the chocolate in the first mold has completely hardened, and the second mold has formed a solid shell as well. We're going to pour out the excess liquid chocolate. Once it's fully set, we can remove the 2 heavy chocolate halves. We're going to glue them together, but to make the bond stronger, we're going to score the edges crisscross. We're going to crisscross the entire rim. Then for even better adhesion, we're going to warm the edges with a heat gun. Now while I heat the second half, the chocolatier pipes liquid chocolate along the rim of the first one. Finally, we can press them together. This is going to give us the base of the body, but it's not stable yet. So to fix that, we're going to carefully trim the top using scalpels. Now this took 20 minutes to cut through that thick layer of chocolate. We're going to lift the lid and then place a sheet of acetate film on the granite and use profile pipes to build a mold frame. Using semi-liquid chocolate, we're going to secure the structure so it doesn't shift at the worst possible moment. All done. We're going to scoop up some hot chocolate and then pour it into the frame. Then using a pipe, we're going to spread it out evenly to create a perfectly smooth layer. Now while the chocolate is still liquid, we're going to flip the egg upside down and set it in place, opening face down. After 5 minutes, we can take apart the frame and flip the egg so the flat side faces up. We're going to remove the film and then trim off any chocolate sticking out. Now we need to smooth the seams so that there's no visible lines where the two halves join. And with that, the base of the body is ready. We move it over to the table for assembling the crocodile. The next step is the tail, but we're going to make it more interesting by curving it upward. So first, we're going to need a stencil. We're going to unroll 2 sheets of poster board and start drawing the tail freehand. All done. Now all that's left is to cut it out with a scalpel. It's so convenient to do this with granite underneath. No scratches left behind after using the scalpel. The stencil is ready, and so now we're going to build a giant mold frame. But first we need to spray some water onto the granite so the acetate film sticks to the surface. Now for this we need 5 sheets of acetate and 4 long profile pipes. We're going to secure the structure with liquid chocolate. Now it's time to pour 10 full liters of chocolate. Now we're going to use a pastry spatula to spread it out a bit. And then do the final leveling with a long pipe. And we're going to wait until the chocolate turns matte, but hasn't completely set yet. Then we're going to quickly dismantle the frame, lay down the stencil, and cut out the soft chocolate using an awl. We're going to flip the stencil to the other side and cut out an identical piece. With such a large surface, the chocolate might start to warp as it sets, so to prevent that, we're going to cover it with a sheet of paper. We're going to lay 2 flat wooden boards on top and use barrels as a press. While the chocolate is setting completely, we're going to make a chocolate pipe, which we're also going to need for the tail. We're going to fill a pipe lined with acetate film to the top with hot chocolate and then place it in the freezer for 20 minutes. Now we need to drain the excess liquid. And after one more round in the freezer, we can take out and unwrap the chocolate tube. Now it's time to remove the structure that kept the chocolate from warping. As you can see, everything turned out perfectly. All that's left is to snap off the extra pieces. Then we're going to use a spatula to trim the edges of the parts that we need. Now it's time to cut the chocolate tube, and to do that, we're going to heat a knife using a heat gun, and then simply melt through the chocolate with the hot blade. We're going to keep going. We need 5 segments of different lengths, and then on the larger chocolate pieces, we're going to scratch up the spots where the tubes will be attached. At the same time, we're going to apply hot chocolate to the tubes and then warm the attachment points with the heat gun. All done. Now we can stick them together. We're going to repeat the process with the rest of the segments. Done. Now we need to heat up a pan with a thick bottom on the stove. We're going to use it to slightly melt the ends of the tubes at the right angle so that the second part of the tail fits snugly. We're going to scratch the bonding area, warm it up with a heat gun, and then squeeze out some hot chocolate to use as glue. And that's it. We can attach the second half. Once it's hardened, we've got a solid and reliable tail structure. So now we need to close up this gap, and for that we're going to build this expanding mold which we will fill with chocolate. Then we're going to smooth it out into a perfectly flat surface. We're going to take the mold apart. While the chocolate on top is still liquid, we're going to attach the base of the tail to it. Then we're going to roll it all the way along. The acetate film can now be removed because we don't need it anymore. Then using a scalpel, we're going to trim off the excess chocolate. We're going to reinforce the seam from the inside with more liquid chocolate. The final tail section is trickier because it needs to be bent even more, and so this time we're going to pour the chocolate into a mold placed not on the granite but on the countertop. This way it cools slower and more evenly, giving the chocolate more flexibility. Then we're going to do a final leveling with a pipe. As soon as the chocolate is no longer liquid, we're going to lift it up and seal the last open gap of the tail. The edges are going to cool faster and start to crack, but that's not a problem. We're going to carefully remove the film and trim off the excess chocolate. Thank goodness the cracks didn't reach the part we need. While the chocolate is still soft, it cuts like butter. The tail is almost ready. Now we just need to reinforce the seams by piping hot chocolate into these gaps using a pastry bag. The tail looks sturdy. Next, we need to cut a notch at the base so it can connect to the crocodile's body. Done. Time for a test fit. Yes, it fits perfectly. But before we attach it, we'll make the inner part of the neck. We're going to pour chocolate into another mold. Basically, we're aiming to create a medium-sized chocolate tube. And so we're going to spread the chocolate out. And then cover it with parchment. While it's still soft, we're going to wrap it around a pipe from the outside. And once it sets, we can remove the parchment and the film. We're going to need a shorter piece, so we're going to trim off the uneven edges with a hot knife. We're going to line up where it's going to be attached and then make some scoring marks there. We're also going to scratch up the area where the tail will connect. Then we're going to warm all the bonding points with a heat gun and apply a thick layer of liquid chocolate to the tube. Now it's time to glue it in place. To avoid holding it for 10 minutes, we're going to give the seam a quick spray with a pastry cooling spray, and the chocolate sets instantly. We're also going to seal the pipe joint since this part will support the head and needs to be extra strong. For the next step, I bought a professional cutter, a giant high-powered blender. We're going to fill it with chocolate drops, close the lid, and then blend everything up. After about 5 minutes, the blender turns the chocolate into a paste. That is exactly what we need. It's a soft, clay-like substance perfect for sculpting with chocolate. We're going to use this paste to reinforce key parts of our chocolate crocodile, but we have to move fast. We've only got about 5 minutes before it starts to harden. All done. Now we're going to make another big batch of this chocolate modeling paste, this time to secure the tail, and we're going to fill the tail with paste. Liquid chocolate goes on the joints. And then finally, we're going to attach the tail to the body. The tail is really heavy, so the connection needs to be reinforced as much as possible. After an hour, we've securely joined the heaviest parts of the chocolate crocodile. Now it's time to move on to the head. For the skull, we're going to use a small half-egg mold and fill it to the top with chocolate. After some time in the freezer, a shell forms along the sides and surface, and we carefully cut it with a knife to get clean, even edges. Then we're going to pour out the liquid chocolate. Once it fully sets in the freezer, the first half of the skull is ready. Then we're going to fill the second one, but not all the way. It needs to be much smaller. Done. Now we remove it from the mold. Now we need to test fit the skull half to the body and make sure that it fits tightly at the throat. And to do that, we're going to heat a metal ring with a heat gun. Then we're going to cut out a hole of the right diameter. We're going to hold it up. It fits perfectly. At this stage, we're going to need a lot of chocolate paste all at once, so we prepped a second batch using a different method by placing the containers of chocolate into a warming cabinet. We filled the warming cabinet to the max and set the temperature to 35 degrees and waited a full 24 hours. And then after a day, we checked. The chocolate has become soft but not liquid. It's perfect. We're going to flip the chocolate skull halves over, grab the softened chocolate, and knead it by hand. Now, using this paste, we're going to sculpt the nose and lower jaw of the crocodile, shaping the skull into the correct elongated form. This took over 3 hours just to make the head resemble that of the crocodile. So now we're going to flip the halves to the other side. And at this stage, we're going to need a sculptor's tool set, specifically a loop tool. And with that, we're going to scrape out the chocolate from the extended part of the head to make it lighter. After another hour, it's finally done. Now, using the chocolate paste, we're going to need to build up the crocodile's gums. We tried to make the gums look as realistic as possible, and in the end, we ended up with this head prototype. But to attach it, we need a wide chocolate neck, so we're going to fill a long mold with chocolate, using my favorite method to smooth it out. Then we're going to take the soft chocolate, place it at the edge, and then wrap it around a large pot. Then we're going to secure it in place with tape. Once it's hardened, we're going to cut the tape and remove the film. We're going to take out the pot, and then the neck is ready. Since it'll be supporting a lot of weight also, we're going to scratch the chocolate at the bonding area for a better grip. Then we're going to heat the chocolate and then apply more liquid chocolate. Then we're going to attach the neck at the right angle and instantly set it in place with a cooling spray. Now we just have to reinforce the neck from all sides using chocolate paste. To help the chocolate paste set faster, we're going to point a fan at it and wait for 2 hours. The chocolate hardened like stone. Then to attach the head, we're going to lay down a fresh batch of paste and press the lower half of the head onto the liquid chocolate. We're going to reinforce all the surrounding areas and prepare the spot for the second half of the head. We attach it, hold the mouth in the right position, and then insert a chocolate pipe into the crocodile's jaws. Now we're going to go over every part of the crocodile with chocolate paste to visually merge everything together. Once the paste is hardened, we're going to remove the pipe, and then everything holds perfectly. Now it's time to make the crocodile's legs. We're going to start with the chocolate bones. We're going to fill 4 acetate film tubes with chocolate. We're going to tap them lightly against the table to get rid of air bubbles and then place them in the freezer until they fully harden. And after 40 minutes, we're going to unwrap the film. Then we're going to heat a cleaver to shorten the chocolate bones. We're going to cut them straight down the middle. We're going to arrange the halves at the right angles and then use chocolate paste to lock each one into position. The hind legs go on the left and the front ones on the right. Then, using more chocolate paste, we're going to build up the muscles on each leg. Done. We're going to thoroughly scratch up the joint area, heat them with a heat gun, and glue the legs on using liquid chocolate, fixing them in place with a cooling spray. That's how we secured all the legs, but we're not finished yet. We still need to add the feet. And to do that, we're going to take a ball of chocolate paste and flatten it into a thick disc. Then, using a wooden knife, we're going to make 4 cuts and then shape the toes by hand. All done. Now we attach the feet to their positions. Now comes the sculpting stage, and we're going to use chocolate paste to properly shape the muscle proportions on each leg. Next up are the eyes. We're going to pour chocolate into a mold with half spheres, scrape off the excess, and then pop out the chocolate eyeballs. Now, to make them stick, we're going to melt a small area using a special tool and place the eyes inside. Then we're going to carefully sculpt the upper and lower eyelids using chocolate paste. All done. Now we need to create a smooth transition from the mouth to the throat so our chocolate crocodile looks as realistic as possible. We're going to use a bowl as a mold. We're going to fill it with chocolate, spread it slightly along the sides, and then pour out the excess. We're going to leave the bowl upside down on the table, and then once it cools, the piece we need is ready. We're going to place it inside the crocodile's mouth and fix it in using chocolate paste. Using a heated round mold, we cut an opening in the center. And then we continue sculpting. The next mold we fill is for making one of the key parts of the mouth, the tongue. And of course, we level the chocolate with a pipe. Then we're going to place a pre-made tongue stencil on top and cut it out with a scalpel. Done. While the chocolate is still soft, we're going to quickly transfer it onto 2 pipes and gently bend it between them so that it sets in the correct shape. All ready, we can remove the film and and place the perfectly shaped tongue into the crocodile's mouth. And then using paste, we're going to create a smooth transition. The back part of the crocodile's body is a bit too low, so we're going to build it up using the same chocolate paste. Alright, it's time to give the crocodile's body those natural curves. We start by rolling the paste into long sausage-like strips. Then we're going to lay them out along the head and torso. Then we're going to blend them in with our fingers to create smooth transitions. We're going to need to make 6 of these strips in total. Now the crocodile looks a lot more aggressive, but I'm not happy with the surface quality. It's covered in small imperfections, so to fix that, we're going to dip fresh sponges in hot water and then wring them out and start vigorously rubbing the surface. The outer layer of chocolate melts slightly and fills in all the tiny bumps. This is one of the longest stages. It took a full 5 hours. Now we're going to begin adding the final texture to the crocodile. But first, we're going to need to mark everything out using an awl. We do this all over the body, from the tail to the tip of the snout. I'm going to work on the tail, shaving off excess chocolate at an angle along the edges using a knife, all the way down to our markings. This gradually gives the tail the proper texture. Meanwhile, the chocolatier will shape the spikes on the back of the head, slicing along each section we marked. And then a third person is going to etch in the detailed texture on the rest of the body and clean out the grooves using a special rounded end tool. This is the key step where the crocodile finally starts to look ultra realistic. Next, we're going to make the claws out of chocolate paste and attach one to each toe. All done. As you can see, the tallest ridges on the crocodile are on its tail, and to make those, we're going to pour chocolate onto a sheet of film, tilt the board to spread it out, and then pull the sheet onto the granite. We're going to spread it a bit more to thin the layer, and then once it's set slightly, we're going to flip it over and peel off the film. Using pre-cut templates of different sizes, we're going to cut out the chocolate pieces. We're going to keep going. We need a whole lot of them. In the end, we've got a full pile, and so now we're going to dip one edge into liquid chocolate and attach each piece to the tail. We're going to keep doing this all the way up to the torso. Then using chocolate paste, we're going to smooth out the transition so that it all flows naturally. Now I want to even out the color. For the food-safe paint, we're going to need cocoa butter and milk chocolate. Then we're going to put them in the microwave to melt. All done. And then we're going to pour the mixture into a spray gun. And then screw on the lid. And that's it. Now we're going to coat the crocodile in a rich, beautiful chocolate color. All done. Now all that's left are the teeth. And to make those, we're going to mix melted white chocolate with corn syrup. As we stir, the mixture thickens quickly. After chilling in the fridge, it turns into edible modeling clay, and that's what we're going to use for the teeth. Then we're going to place them into the crocodile's mouth. Done. The result is an unbelievably beautiful chocolate crocodile. We worked really hard to make it as perfect as possible, and I think we pulled it off. This giant sculpture is completely handmade, but we decided to take it a step further and paint the crocodile in different colors, just like the toy. And for that, we're going to need melted cocoa butter, white chocolate, and oil-based food coloring. We're going to blend it all together with an immersion blender. The edible paint is now ready, and we're going to cover 90% of the crocodile's body in green. Done. Then we're going to use yellow to paint the underside of the jaw and the chest, as well as the base of the tail. We're going to color the inside of the mouth pink. And then with black paint, we're going to bring out the texture along the back. Now for the eyes, we're going to need an airbrush. We're going to turn it on and then paint the eyes yellow. The pupil is done with a brush. And to give our crocodile a shiny finish, we're going to apply a special shellac spray. That's it. Our chocolate crocodile is finally complete. I'm really happy with the result. It ended up looking exactly like the toy that we copied it from. It's amazing to think that this crocodile is 100% edible and contains a full 160 kilograms of chocolate inside. It took us a total of 8 days to make this, and if this video quickly hits 100,000 likes, you can expect another chocolate sculpture in the next video. See you next time.